Okay, now we're going to apply what we know about different angle relationships to some problem solving where we've got some algebraic expressions, variable terms, constant terms. Okay, I mean I can sit here and guess and check. If I know what complementary means, I could sit there and guess and check until I find the right number. But ideally what you want to do when you have variable expressions is ask yourself, what is the relationship of these two angles, and set up an equation. By equation I mean something with an equal sign. So typically when you're looking at two things, you're going to be able to say that they are either equal to each other. For example, when we did mid-segments, right? The midpoint would break a segment into two equal segments. An angle bisector would break an angle into two equal angles. So two things might be equal to each other. The other possibility is that those two things will add up to something. Okay, so the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, what is the relationship of the angles that they're giving me? So in number one it says that angle CAN and angle PET are complementary angles. So I'm focusing, whenever I see a vocabulary word, I'm thinking that's probably significant in my problem solving. Complementary angles, I have to ask myself, what did that mean? Always remember, between complementary and supplementary, sometimes students get those mixed up. When I was in high school, I remember that C stood for corner, whereas S stood for straight line. Okay, so if it's making a corner, I know that the two angles are adding up to 90 degrees. They have a sum of 90 degrees. Okay, so once I've determined that, I know that my equation is going to be one angle plus a second angle is equal to 90 degrees. That's the definition of complementary. Okay, so now I'm just going to plug this in here. I've got 2x plus 24 is one of the angles. So 2x plus 24. And then I'm going to add my second angle here is 3x minus 4. Okay, hopefully you remember your algebra skills. If you're having trouble with that, let me know. I've got some lessons I could give you for that. So I'm going to solve this assuming that you've already had your basics here. I like to make a left and right side of my equation. When things are on the same side of the equal sign, I'm just going to start by simplifying that side. In other words, 2x and 3x are like terms, so I'm going to add them because they're on the same side. I get 5x. 24 and negative 4, they're on the same side, so I'm going to add them, and I get positive 20 equals 90. Now I want to get my like terms together, which means I'm going to get my constant term here with my other constant term. I'm going to move the 20 because I want to get x alone eventually, so I'm going to do that by using the subtraction property of equality. Okay, if I subtract it from one side, I have to subtract it from the other side. And the reason why I subtract this, I'm using inverse to make this, the inverse property to make that 0. So 0 plus 5x just leaves me with 5x equals 90 minus 20 is 70. Okay, so my last step here is I'm doing the opposite of this multiplication here, and I'm going to do that by dividing. The division property of equality says if I do it on the left side, I do it on the right side. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. So 1 times x, that's just x. That's going to make that go away. So now I have 1x, or x is equal to 14. Yep, 14. Okay, now a common mistake I see with students, and every now and then I think it's kind of dirty, but they'll do this. You might see in a multiple choice question the answer as being 14 as one of your choices, but you want to make sure that you're always rereading your question. Have you answered the question? It's asking me for the measurement of angle PET. I have not answered the question yet. All I've done is found the value of x. So I'm going to come over here to angle PET. The measurement of angle PET is equal to 3x minus 4. I'm going to substitute 14 for x, so 3 times 14 minus 4. I'm going to use my calculator 3 times 14 minus 4, that's 38. So the measurement of angle PET equals 38 degrees, okay? And that's my answer. Now, I was always a student and I'm a teacher in the same way. I'm a perfectionist, so I hate being wrong. So I wouldn't actually stop here. Even though I have answered their question, what I would do is I want to check my setup and I want to check my algebra. So what I'm going to do, one extra step here, I'm going to take my 14 and I'm going to put it in for my other angle. So if PET was 38, when I get my other angle, those two should add up to give me that 90 degrees. So let's check that. If these are truly complementary, when I plug in 14 here, so 2 times 14 plus 24, and I'm just putting this right in my calculator, that gives me 52. So I'm going to check 52 plus 38, 5, 6, 7, 8, 90. That's 90 degrees. So now I'm happy that I got the right answer. Okay, let's try a second example. So again, I'm asking myself, what is the relationship between the angles that they have given me? They've given me two angles here. I haven't done this before, I don't think. Sometimes you name an angle with a number. Okay, if I was drawing, actually I can go ahead and draw this one. Vertical angles, let's draw what that looks like. What do I know about vertical angles? Vertical angles are those angles, kind of like the V's here, V there, V there. Those two angles are going to be equal. Sometimes you'll see them named with the number just in there. I do not do that very often because I think that is confusing because your angle measures are numbers. But just so you know, you could see an angle named by a number instead of a letter. Okay, so back to the question. Angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. So I'm asking myself, what do I know about vertical angles and their relationship? Do they add up to something or are they the same? The net definition of vertical is that they are congruent. Okay, so what that means is that one angle is going to be equal to my other angle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up my equation. 13p minus 8 is equal to 4 times 3p plus 1. Okay, I've got my left side and my right side. Remember, I like to simplify first. On the left side, there's nothing to do, but on the right side, I need to distribute my 4. So I've got 13p minus 8 on the left. 4 times 3 is 12p. 4 times 1 is 4. Okay? Alright, now what I need to do is get my like terms on the same side. So this time I've got variable terms on both sides and constant terms on both sides. I'm going to need to move two things. Personally, I like to move my smaller variable term because I like to get that positive. In other words, 12, if I subtract 12p, I'm using the subtraction property of equality by doing it to both sides, this is going to cancel out. The inverse property is going to give me 0 there. 0 plus 4, 4. And then over on this side I have 13p minus 12p. That's just 1p, or p. Okay, this is going to be nice because I'm going to be done after this step. P is already almost alone. The last step here is to get rid of negative 8. The opposite of subtracting is adding. Add it to both sides, addition property of equality. That makes 0. Okay, so p plus 0 is just p. And I get 12. So again, make sure we go back and read the question. Oh, they did it to me again. I'm going to have to find the measurement of one of these angles here. So I'm actually not finished yet. Okay, so let's go back, find the measurement of angle 1. And I'm going to substitute my solution here, which is 12. So 3 times 12 minus 8. I said 3, but that's 13. 13 times 12 minus 8, 148. So the measurement of angle 1 equals 148. Okay, so again, I'm a perfectionist, or if you're a student that wants to, you're really concerned about not just getting through the material, but, finishing the class with a strong grade, then you want to check this. This is easy to check. So that number seems kind of big to me, but, it's less than 180, so it is reasonable. It would not match the picture I drew, but I did not have enough information to have an accurate picture, just as long as they're vertical. So the way I'm going to check this is if I found that angle 1 was 148 and they're vertical, that means angle 2 should be the same. So let's plug it into here. 4 parentheses 3 times 12 plus 1. Okay, I got 148. So I'm feeling really good about my answer. I always like to put a little smiley face once I've checked it. Okay, then I know that I've been thorough. I'm done with that problem. Okay, we've got one more example to try together. All right, this last example, sorry, I moved my light over there. Okay, my last example here says that angle ABC and angle CBD form a linear pair. So that's the vocabulary word that's jumping out at me. So again, I'm asking myself, what do I know about linear pairs? Well, I know that they're adjacent, okay? But that doesn't help me with what the equation I'm going to set up is. What kind of linear pair, or what kind of adjacent pairs are they? What is their sum? Well, remember, a linear pair are adjacent supplementary angles. So supplementary angles mean that when I take my two angles and add them together, okay, this angle plus this angle is going to give me 180 degrees. That's what supplementary means. So linear pair makes that straight line. They add up to 180. Okay, so let's set up our equation. Here's one of my angles. Here's my second angle. Okay, 8y plus 6, and then I'm going to add this angle, 14y minus 2, and it should equal 180. A linear pair are two angles that add up to 180. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do my algebra here. I've got a bunch of stuff on the left side, so I'm going to start by simplifying that. 8y and 14y are my common terms here, my like terms. So that's going to be 22y. 6 and negative 2 make positive 4. Okay, I only have one variable term on the left, so I'm going to go ahead and move the 4 by using the subtraction property of equality. I'm going to do it to both sides. This cancels out to make 0. So I have 22y equals 180 minus 4 is 176. My last step here is to undo this multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. It's going to give me 1, but 1 times y is just y. And I have to do it to both sides. So let's see, I'm going to use my calculator. 176 divided by 22. And I get 8. So I got that y is equal to 8. Okay, have I answered the question? The question dun, 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 is right here. So I have not answered the question. I have gotten very close to it, but I still need to finish answering the question. So the measurement of angle ABC. Okay, here's ABC. So we're going to substitute our solution for y. So 8 times 8 plus 6, that's 64, plus 6, that's 70. So the measurement of angle ABC equals 70. Okay? Now, I have answered the question, but I'd like to take that extra step. It's real quick to check it. So I'm going to come in here. This was 70. Now let's find out what CBD is. So CBD is 14 times 8 minus 2. I got 110. And these two angles are adding up to 180. So I'm feeling pretty good. Which means I'm going to add that.